All right, here we are, hanging out here in the conference room. And for the people that don't know, this is where we're going to be recording the podcast moving forward, starting March. We're recording the podcasts here. And the reason being is we have that beautiful studio in Folsom, and but it's a working studio, meaning it's being rented out throughout the day, 4, 5, 6 recordings a day coming through that studio. And right now, with offering free radio spots or free podcast spots on our show for Impact and Influence magazine, what's happening is the studio is booked 6 weeks out, and it's starting to cost everybody a lot of money. So we purchased new equipment for a mobile setup, and we're going to be recording right here in this beautiful, either this conference room, we've got a wine lounge, or we've got this beautiful theater set up that we can record there. So that's where we're going to be recording the shows. A little bit of an echo, but that's what you get. All right, so today I'm going to be answering some questions, doing some Q&A. A lot of people have come to me and said, I've got a question about this or a question about that. And so I'm going to, tackle some of those. And then, of course, we'll take these and throw them up on social media and Instagram and YouTube and all that stuff. All right. So question number 1, should I publish my book on Kindle or with Kindle? The answer is an overwhelming yes. If you're thinking about doing a book, what's really nice about Amazon's platform is that you own the intellectual property. When you go through a publisher, for instance, Penguin is one of them. There's a bunch of them out there. But a lot of times they want you to pay a fee, and then they take a certain percentage of your sales, and then they also own part of that intellectual property. And with Amazon, you own your intellectual property, which is really, really nice. It's very important that you own the rights to your work. So to answer your question, yes, overwhelmingly yes, you should do it. The other thing that's great about Kindle is that even if you give the book away for free, so there's an option on there. You can give the book away for 5 days every 90 days, and that's one of the things that we do. And what's nice about that is it gets the book into hands of people that wouldn't have found your book otherwise, because they're looking for the great deals, the free books for the day. So that's a really, really great tool. And then you still make a half a cent per page read. So essentially, if you have a 100-page book, you make 50 cents if they read that book all the way through. And then, of course, they can leave reviews and videos and all that kind of stuff on your Amazon. So the other thing that's nice about that is it sends everything over to Audible. A lot of people do audiobook, so you get the pages read for that. And then, of course, Amazon has the print-to-ship option. And if you write a lot of books, you could really make quite a bit of money on there. We've done very well. And I've got like 36, 37 books, something along those lines. And it pays some of our bills every month, which is really, really nice. And it's just residual, and you can count on it month over month over month. Next question. What's the best social media platform? This is very... we could argue about this all day long, but in my opinion, I think social media is dying. I think that with what's happened with X and what's happened with TikTok, and especially Facebook's really gotten bad, in my opinion. I think the one that really has stood the test of time is Instagram. I think Instagram's done great. It's worked well for us, and we're going to continue to use it, and we're really hoping that. That it stays. I just realized that my headphones are really loud and the mic is really quiet. I'm going to have to bring all the volume levels up. No, I think that Instagram is really where you need to be. I think TikTok is too volatile. It's been here today, gone tonight, and back tomorrow, gone the next day. It's just really been a mess. And then Facebook is just very antiquated. People are really starting to get away from Facebook. And then X has got its problems, political problems. And then you've got Truth Social and Blue Sky and all these others. And I think really, if you want to leave your mark, I think YouTube, putting your videos up on YouTube and doing shorts, and then your reels on Instagram, I think that makes the most sense. The next question here. The biggest mistakes small business owners make. I think that we all make mistakes, and it's okay to make mistakes. Mistakes are a very important part of entrepreneurship. I think that as we grow, we're going to make mistakes, and by learning from those mistakes is what makes us better entrepreneurs. However, there's some mistakes that are unforgivable, and there's no excuse for them to happen. And some of those mistakes are, just not showing up. When you schedule an appointment with somebody and you miss that appointment, or you cancel last minute, or you have a phone appointment with somebody and you miss that appointment, there's no excuse really. It's your business. You've got to run your business. And if you're missing those appointments and then you send a text message afterward that says, "So sorry, I got held up in a meeting," that's inexcusable. That's poor time management. You could easily tell the person you're sitting down with and say, I have another important meeting at noon or whatever it is, and so we need to wrap up 5 minutes prior to that, and that will also cut through a lot of the BS with that client. If the meeting, let's say you're a realtor and the meeting is with a home buyer or a seller, again, you still have obligations. I think it really comes down to the importance of the meetings that you're scheduling. If you're scheduling meetings that are more important than other meetings, then leave a little bit more time. Unless you're in the hospital dying, there should be no reason for you to miss an appointment. If you've got a little bit of a cough, then do a Zoom meeting. If you get into a car accident, obviously you can't make it, and that's one of those reasons. But I think that as entrepreneurs, we make a lot of excuses for ourselves, and only time is going to you're only going to realize that as time goes on, because essentially what's going to happen is you're going to start burning bridges, and people aren't going to want to work with you, and myself included. I've been fired, and then we sit down and we become better. And one of the things that I've always done is I always show up, and I've got fun stories about emergency surgeries and leaving the hospital and going and doing recordings and things like that. And I know I'm an anomaly, but the point is that if you want to be successful, if you really want to grow your business, I think you just need to show up. And I think the biggest mistake is people just making excuses for themselves. Why is failing good for entrepreneurs? This goes hand in hand with the last question. Failing is extremely important for entrepreneurs. Fail first and learn from it. If you're not sure how to do something, get out there and figure it out and make mistakes along the way. And you're you'll start to learn. What will happen is you'll start to be able to make decisions based on intuition. And that intuition comes from just simply having experienced these things before. You just have to be in the shoes. There's a lot of small business owners or entrepreneurs or people that call themselves entrepreneurs that are afraid to get their feet wet. They're afraid to jump in. They're afraid to dive in. And they're not going to learn anything. And if you don't learn anything, you never have the opportunity to fail. And people say, well, he failed 5 businesses. Yeah, but how many did he do really, really well? I remember I had a job interview years back, 15 years ago. I was doing mortgages, and I had an interview with the mortgage company, and they had said, yeah, but you've got 5 bad reviews online. I'm like, yeah, but what about the 100,000 customers that we had that were happy? And so you have to You have to just keep going. And think of it like skateboarding. If you got on the skateboard and it was easy, and you landed every trick, like, really, are you that good? So the point is, when you get on that skateboard and you fall, okay, well, we're not going to do that next time. And it's the same thing with business. You just have to get in there and screw up and learn from those mistakes. And failure is just all part of the game. It's just don't fail so hard that you can't get yourself up, or you end up in prison or something like that. That's not failing good. Okay. It says sticking with it, giving a fair. Okay, yes. Using intuition to make decisions. As you grow as an entrepreneur, you're going to experience a whole lot of stuff. And as you experience stuff, you're going to get to know people. You're going to see patterns. You're going to see people making mistakes that you've already made. You're going to see people saying things and doing things and looking ways. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, just stick with it and you will. And what will happen is over time, you'll start to have intuition about certain things. You'll wake up and you'll make decisions that normally would have taken you a week to figure out, or days to figure out, and you'll just do them. A great example is recordings. We do the recordings and all the stuff that we do, and that just came from years and years and years and years of trial and creating products and putting the content out there, and what worked and what didn't, and that's one of the reasons why I write a lot of books, is maybe to speed up the process for other people. They say that when you read a book, you gain all the knowledge or the knowledge that they're educating on without having to trip over your own feet and fail and make those mistakes. You can learn from the mistakes that other people made. And so when I write these books, even the articles in Impact and Influence magazine, I'm using the lessons that I've learned over the years to help entrepreneurs gain that knowledge, so they can use that intuition growing their business moving forward. How ChatGPT can help your business. ChatGPT is a wonderful, wonderful tool. It's a great tool if you know how to ask, and if you know how to prompt it to do what you want it to do. You have certain prompts, certain things, certain language that it understands, and it'll essentially build you and give you anything and help you with anything. We use it for a lot of our coding. We use it for our video work. We would use it for our audio work. We use it for the content. What are we going to be talking about? We use it to go through the articles and tighten the articles up for the magazine. We use it for the layout of the magazine. We used it for the title of the magazine. We use it for essentially everything. And is it going to be around forever? No, it's not. Something else will come along in maybe 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever that is, and we'll use that. But the point is today, ChatGPT is a wonderful tool. If you're not using AI in any factor, there's a lot of different options now. I don't know a lot of them. Gemini I keep hearing, but I don't use anything other than ChatGPT. The point I'm making is, if you're not using the tools that are available for your business, you're going to get stuck in the Stone Age. And we're in the infancy right now. So this is an easy time for you to learn this technology. Learn it, embrace it. Again, back to making mistakes. You're going to screw up, but use it in your business, and you'll be surprised how quickly you excel and where you take that business. Knowing when to say no. It's very, very important as an entrepreneur to know when to say no and how to say no. And, I watched this thing not too long ago on FBI, and it was talking about the tonality in how the FBI talks to a suspect, for instance. And so if the FBI agent talks like this, and he's like, "Hey, you stop," it sounds almost like the "you stop" is an option, versus "Hey, you stop" now is demanding. So when you're saying no to somebody, if you say no, essentially it means yes. But if you say no, then you've told them no. And it's okay to say no. And knowing when to say no. Somebody might say, somebody might ask you to do something with your business that you might not do. Provide a service that, yes, you technically could provide that service, but it's not something that you do unless you're desperate for money or you are looking for new things to offer your clients. Odds are you should say no to that. A client will come to me and say, hey, can I write a personal check for the services? No, we're not going to do that. Well, why not? Because I just said no. Because this is a business, and the terms that I have are X, Y, and Z, and that's what we offer, and we've already made it easy for you. That's why. And also, it protects us. Why would I want to provide service and then sit there and have to wait a week or 2 weeks for your check to clear when you got credit cards, you got debit cards, you got 4Pays, you've got all these different options available now that are digital, and you can make that payment. So the point I'm making is knowing when to say no and why to say no. A client, if you're in real estate, a client might say, I want to buy this house, but I want all the furniture that comes with it. And the homeowner might go, well, if the homeowner just said no, well, then the answer is no. And so it's just good to be able to say those things and to portray that message. And it doesn't make you a jerk. It just makes you firm, and that you're standing your ground. And always have the feet planted firmly on the ground. And I mean that metaphorically and figuratively. Always make sure that you're sure-footed. All right, next one here. Excuses will kill your business. My God. I wrote a whole book on this stuff. I see excuses every single day from people. And it's sad stuff, man. People actually believe their BS. They actually believe this crap. And sadly, that's what's going to kill their business. Just keep making excuses for yourself. You see it in marriages. You see it in relationships with clients. You see it in business. You see it in finance. There is always a reason for why something happened, and it's all an excuse. Every single bit of it. Well, I didn't make it to the thing because it was raining outside. Yeah, but what about all the other people that showed up? What's the problem? Everyone else showed up, but you didn't show up. So the issue clearly wasn't that you couldn't make it. The issue was that you were lazy. Simple as that. And excuses will just kill everything that you ever want to do in life. Marriages, the same thing. Relationships, you're laying on the couch. Yeah, you're tired. Your spouse is tired too. She says, "Hey, can you get up and load the dishwasher?" Just get up and load the dishwasher. I mean, just do it. It's 5 minutes. And then you can go back and lay on the couch. It's crazy to me, just the excuses people have. Quit juggling your business or multiple businesses. I see this all the time. Oh my gosh. And dude, I've done it. I'm telling you, I've done it. All these mistakes I've done. So quit juggling your business. What does that mean? Okay, so you see somebody and you go to a networking event and you run into this guy and he's got like 4 different types of business cards. And he's like, yeah, I got 9 businesses. You have 9 businesses simply because 9 of them don't work. You have to make $50 here, $100 there, $200. You're not a serial entrepreneur. You just haven't followed through with anything. You haven't built anything. And I've done it. And why do you think I've got the movies and the music and the radio and the magazine and the books and all these things? Because I had to try everything in order for stuff to work. And believe me, I've done it. I had motorcycle shops. I was a Ferrari parts broker. I did mortgages. I had a web design business. And the list goes on and on and on. And the point is that had I just stuck with something, I'd probably be a hell of a lot further in life. And that's the honest to God truth. And so I've learned now, like when we launched Impact and Influence magazine, I knew that we had to get rid of something. So we got rid of the motorcycle business. After 18 years, we finally put it to rest and said, okay, no more motorcycle stuff. And what ended up happening was it allowed me to focus all of my energy on this. And wow, look at what it's done. Now, had I just been juggling and doing 15 businesses, what happens? There's 2 ways to look at this. The first one is you think of a juggler. They're juggling and they've got bowling pins, right? And they've got 2 bowling pins and then 3 bowling pins and then 4 bowling pins and 5 bowling pins. Eventually they get to too many bowling pins and they drop everything. And that's what happens with business. The other way to look at it is that when you start a business, you're like, okay, I'm going to put 100% of my energy into this business. The problem is you still have a life and a family at home. So you're only able to put 50-50 into that. And then when you add, let's say you have a job. Now you're at 33, right? So you're only able to put 33% of your time and energy into this business. And then so you want to start another business. Well, now you got 25, and you want to start another business. Now you got 20. Are you going to be able to sustain your lifestyle at home, your job, and all of these businesses only giving 20% of yourself? That's the point I'm making. And so you have to be all in. If you're going to do this, do this. If you're going to do this, do this. But just remember one thing. Nothing comes before your family. Your family will always, always, always come first. Money does not, and work does not come before your family. 100%, okay? It's Uncle Quinn advice. Okay, now, next one. What are you missing? Using playing cards with your wife as an analogy. This is a good one. What are you missing? And this is where ego comes in. My God, dude, I've done this a million times, and It's a crazy thing. Ego is a killer. It is a killer. I just released a book called Kill the Ego. Good God, dude. Okay, so you're playing a game of cards. And what happens is when I'm playing a game of cards with my wife is way smarter than me. Way, way, way smarter than me. And I'll sit there and I'll have the cards, and I swear to God, I've got the perfect hand, man. I am ready to just clobber her. And then she puts down something, and I miss everything. When we play Scrabble, I'm ready to go, and then she just destroys me. We play Phase 10. Here we go. We're going to do this, and she just destroys me. Every single time. And so every time I think that I've got the right hand, I always have to ask myself, what am I missing? And I do this while I drive, and I think to myself, I'm going 75 miles an hour on the freeway. I'm having a good time and listening to music. This is a good day. And then I think to myself, what am I missing? There's a cop behind me. There's a guy over here on his phone. There's traffic coming to a stop in front of me. If I wasn't paying attention to what am I missing, it could be a disaster. It could be the end of life, right? And so everything that you're doing with your business, with life, with your relationships, marriage, kids, always ask yourself, what am I missing? And you'd be surprised what presents itself in that moment. And you go, whoa, I didn't even see that. And it's just so, so important to just pay attention to your surroundings as to what am I missing? And just like earlier in this recording, I was going, why is I'm not seeing the frequency on the, on the computer. I'm not seeing it going, big spikes. And then I realized that my line level's really low, but it's loud in my headphone, and my headphone's really loud. And so when I was setting up, I could have asked myself, what am I missing? And I would have caught that instead of halfway through an hour-long recording and going, oh, well, that's the problem. And so again, what am I missing? You're missing a lot. Just pay attention, start slowing down and asking yourself, what am I missing? You'd be surprised just how much your ego makes you think that you're doing better than you are. And you'll actually become better by just slowing yourself down. How accountability is affecting your business. We did that in a sense. Okay, show up and win. Okay, we got that. Passing over opportunities. P-O-O-R, passing over opportunities repeatedly. I've talked about this in books. I've talked about it on different web series I've done, podcasts, radio shows. Passing over opportunities repeatedly. There's a great story from Will Smith. He's obviously not too liked these days because of the Chris Rock situation, but there's a really great Will Smith story about he was broke. He had released his first album. It did really, really well. He made like no money or pissed it away. I don't remember. And then he does the second album, and the second album flops, and he's completely broke. He says there's nothing worse than being famous and you're on a bus. And he he was talking to his girlfriend or fiance or wife or whatever, his significant other, and she says, you need to go talk to Arsenio. And so he goes down to Arsenio Hall's show, and he talks to and he tells Arsenio the situation. Arsenio says, there's a party tonight I want to invite you to. There's some people there I want you to meet. So he goes to this party, and I'm probably screwing the story up a little bit, but you'll get the point. So he goes to this party, and everyone's there. Quincy Jones is there, and the producers of the television shows are there, and all these people are there. And he says, we're looking at doing this show about blah, 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 blah. And essentially the show is Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And you would make a great candidate for this program. And we'd love to have you audition. He goes, well, how much time do I have? And he goes, you got about 10 minutes. And he goes, can I look over everything and get back to you tomorrow? And he goes, yeah, you could do that, but the lawyers are here, Quincy's here, everyone's here, and so if you wait until tomorrow, the deal probably won't happen. So you got 10 minutes, go out to the limo and go get ready, and then come back in, and we'll do your rehearsal right here. So he goes outside and he gets prepped, and he comes back in, and he auditions, and he goes, that's perfect. It's exactly what we want. Here, the lawyer walks up, says, here's the paperwork. They sign the deal, and that becomes the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And so, and again, I've probably screwed the story up a little bit, but I think the point of the matter is, if you don't go in the moment, if you pass that opportunity that's presented, odds are you're just going to stay where you are. And so many people are okay failing because that's what they're used to doing. They're used to failing. They're used to not being successful. They're used to living paycheck to paycheck. And they're afraid of winning. They're afraid of becoming successful. And so that's one of the reasons why when something seems too good to be true, they just don't even show up because, well, I've struggled my whole life. Why would it be better now? And so we do that with business. We do that with clients. We deal with it with the magazine. The only reason we did the magazine was to help the small business, to help the little guy. And so we'll get a small business and they say, I'm not ready. Well, if you're not ready now, you're never going to be ready, because this is not a big boy magazine. This is a magazine for young and beginning entrepreneurs. So if you're not ready for this product, you're never going to be ready. And so what ends up happening is they fizzle out, and then they look back on it 10 years later and they go, coulda, woulda, shoulda, and it just is what it is. So the opportunities that present themselves, just show up, just go, and you'll be surprised who you're sitting across from and some of the people you meet. And it's just a really, really wonderful and beautiful thing. And I've done some crazy stuff, man. I've worked with some just amazing people that, I can't even explain it. I just can't even explain it. One year at Monterey Car Week, I get a call from the Sharifs. And because I was in the car business, so I get a call from the Sharifs that said, hey, we're going up to Monterey Car Week. You want to join us? Hell yes, I want to join you. When are you leaving? In 20 minutes. And so I told my wife, we're going to Monterey Car Week. When? Right now. Get your stuff. Let's go. And we should have had more time. I should have given my wife more time, but it was one of those opportunities that you just don't get every day. And I look back on it, and it was a tumultuous trip. My wife and I were at each other's throats the entire trip. But we look at it now and we roll our eyes and look at how far we've come and where our marriage has gone. And it was a wonderful moment that we shared together. But more importantly, it was a wonderful opportunity at the time for the Good Life show. And it helped us build some wonderful relationships. And it was it was a great thing. But then this goes back to the putting your family before business. We put business before family, and look at what it did. Again, it was tumultuous. My wife and I were at each other's throats. I could have easily said, I'll see you guys there in the morning. And my wife and I could have gotten ready and all of that. And I would have met them tomorrow morning and it would have been just as fine. And so again, but again, the opportunities, you have to weigh that in your life. You've got to figure that out for yourself. Okay, so this last one, this last piece here is the stages of success and ego. This is very, very important. when I got into the Good Life, when I started the Good Life radio show back in 2015, my ego was the first time I became successful. My ego went through the roof. And if you watch those old episodes, I go back and I watch them and I go, good Lord, I said that? Holy smokes. And then if you go and you watch the early episodes, if you can even find them, of the Jon Robert Quinn podcast, I mean, just F-bombs here, F-bombs there. It was all over the place. Even the High Rise podcast, I'm just dropping F-bombs all over the place. It's just very, very immature. And then we did a podcast called Talking Shit, which is really just garbage. It's just raunchy garbage. And but it's done in probably better than any of the other radio shows I've ever done, sadly. We go through these stages of success. We go through these stages of ego where when you become successful for the first time, and I see this all the time. In fact, we've got a real estate event that we're going to where all these young realtors and brokers and lenders are all going to be. And they remind me of the three guys from The Big Short with the egos and the fancy, the strippers and the fancy cars and the whole thing. And the point I'm making is it's kind of like, when you become successful and your ego's going through the roof, it's kind of like a baby walking for the first time. And so essentially what happens is you're thrown into this world that you don't quite know how to navigate. And you're just kind of like, and your emotions are going all over and your confidence is all over the place. And it's like you're insecure, but then you're trying to overcome that insecurity by wearing fancy watches and fancy shoes, so you look the part and you feel the part and all these things, and you're just all over the place. It's like the ocean waves, or like a baby just trying to learn how to walk. You're just all over the place, and it's very treacherous. And then as time goes on, you realize none of those things matter. The fancy cars don't matter. The fancy watches don't matter. The fancy shoes don't matter. The fancy eloquent words. You don't have to use big words. You can just talk like a normal person. And what ends up happening is you become more believable, and you have more credibility. And then you start, things start to slow down and get more natural, and the ego starts to just die down. And then as you get older and as you've been doing it longer and longer, none of it matters. You don't care about anything. And so now you're wearing, $20 shirts and $50 shoes and $100 watches, and you just don't give a crap. And the point is that you'll get more deals by not giving a crap than you would by looking like a clown and talking like you're this big giant thing when you're nobody. You're a realtor. These people, they all think they're like Kevin O'Leary or something. It's like, come on, dude. Like, even Kevin O'Leary, his ego's out through the roof. There's no reason for it. And then you look at guys like Warren Buffett and guys like Bezos and even Elon Musk, and then you see a guy that's got a boat and a truck, and he's got a bigger ego than the people who have all the money in the world. And it's just a wild, wild thing. And so you really learn who's full of crap and who isn't, who's really moving and doing the things. And that's just going to happen in over time. You're just going to have to just go through the phases. And we used to have this guy years and years ago, Michael Nerby. I think he's still around. And if anybody knows him, you can tag him in this thing. Michael Nerby, he comes through. He comes from a family that had a little bit of money, and he would talk real estate. And he was just always so calm and collected, and knew what he was talking about. And he just drove a Subaru, and he lived, in East Sacramento. And he was just like the most chill guy in the entire world. And he was always a pleasure to be around, and you always learned something from him. And then here I am, and I'm just like this big arrogant jerk driving a Porsche and had a Harley and backwards hat and the whole thing. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, why did this guy even work with me? I mean, he was on a whole nother level. And then I look back at it now and I'm like, man, I wish I had what Michael Nerby had at that stage in his life. Again, I would probably be a lot further in life than I am. We just go through these phases in our own way, and it stems from our childhood. It stems from, the way we were taught, and the people that surround us, and the people that we have in our lives, and who balances and what balances us, and our personality traits, and the things that motivate and inspire us, and all of those all go into the equation. And then, the other thing is, and that goes back into it, is you get these young cats and then they watch Grant Cardone, and Grant Cardone is a character. I met the guy. He's a character. He's always like that. And so they watch Grant Cardone and they want to be Grant Cardone. And so they behave that way. And it's all artificial. And that goes, and it's just so detrimental. So the point I'm making in this big, long, giant rant is just tone the ego down, be authentic, be who you are. Don't try to put on a show. Just be who you are, and you'll be surprised how far you go. If you don't want to buy the $300 shoes, don't buy the $300 shoes. If you don't really want the Rolex, don't buy the Rolex. These little Paganis are wonderful. They're wonderful watches, great watches. They're $100 on Amazon, and you don't have to put on this big, huge show that you're this big, crazy guy. Just be you, be authentic, and provide people with value, and you'd be surprised how far your career will go. That's it for me today. I want to thank you guys so much for watching and listening, and we'll see you around. Adios.